Guys, we have rhubarb here, as you can see. So this, Slowboy cooking here, of course. Ciao. This will be a first baking episode, and we'll make some rhubarb and apple pie. Making the pie crust is actually the simplest thing. You just need some plain flour, 2 egg yolks. I'm gonna separate the yolks from the egg whites. Just a little bit of cold water and some cold butter. It's important for the butter to be really cold. Okay, so step 2, as you can see, I've put my plain flour in a sieve. I chopped my butter into small cubes. And remember, you need to work really quickly because you still need the butter to be cold so it doesn't completely dissolve and melt when you work it. And I separated my egg yolk from my egg white. Now I'm just gonna sieve the flour in and mix everything together with my hands. So I just kneaded it until I made like a neat ball out of it. You need the consistency of the crust, of the dough, for the crust to be a little sticky but also a little flaky, something between dry and moist really. And you just knead it for a couple of minutes to combine everything. You want the butter to merge with the flour sort of, but you still want it to be very much solid, not melted. And now I'm just gonna take this, I'm gonna transfer it onto a cling film. I'm gonna wrap it very tightly in the cling film, and I'm gonna transfer it to the fridge, and it's gonna sit in the fridge for a good 2 hours just to kind of settle. And 2 hours, that's enough time for you to do, you know, other things. So
honey, are you alright? Are you alright? You had only 1 beer.
That's right. Okay, let's get cooking then. Okay, so I got my dough out of the fridge, so I'm just gonna lightly flour my surface. I'm gonna roll out my bowl of dough into a shape that would fit into this basic tart pan, or what's it called? Okay, so as you can see, I'm trying to roll it out to keep the circular shape, and also it's making squeaky noises, so pardon my rolling pin, but I'm just trying to gently stretch it out. I'm just like this with firm but gentle at the same time movements. I'm just trying to stretch it out into an even circle. Yeah. We grease the entire tart pan with butter, and now we're just gonna transfer this into the tart pan and then stick it in the oven. Now what you need to do, first step is you just lightly pierce the base with a fork, because you know it tends to puff up and it will break. So I'm just gonna pierce it just here at a couple places, that's it. The second is you take some baking paper, just gently put it in, and you might have wondered in my previous videos, why am I keeping dried beans near the stovetop? This is why. So now I'm just gonna this serves as a pie weight, so you know, professionals have pie weights, but I don't have them. And everyone, probably your grandma as well, used just beans. So, smells gorgeous. We're gonna let it cool off. We must not have it hot, we're gonna let it cool off. It can be a little warm, but just it cannot be hot before you put it back in the oven with the filling. This is not a typical pie dough, this is a quiche crust. So I was cheating a little bit, but this is how you make quiche. So in case you're not making rhubarb pie, but you want to really make a quiche, then you just need eggs, both whole eggs and egg yolks, some cream or milk, grated cheese, preferably at least 2 kinds, and some grated nutmeg, onion, and most importantly, crispy fried bacon bits. And then you have quiche Lorraine, which is probably the most famous of all quiches. So boom, quiche, pie, make it whatever you want, but now let's do some rhubarb. For the filling, of course, we're gonna need rhubarb. We're gonna need some peeled apples. I'm gonna cut them into cubes later, but we need some peeled apples. We need sugar. I'm going to use two kinds of sugar, basic golden cane sugar and dark muscovado sugar. I'm going to use about 1 measure of each, simply because the dark muscovado sugar gives really a lot of flavor. We're going to need juice of 1 lemon. We're going to need some cinnamon, some lime zest. I would use lime zest, but since this is not an organic lemon, I'm just going to use some dried one. Okay, so let's get right to it. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean my rhubarb, so I'm just going to cut the both ends off, okay, like this. And this is what I'm going to discard from the rhubarb. I'm going to do with all of them, and then I'm going to dice it for like bite-sized chunks, about 1 centimeter thick. Okay, so just going to put a knob of butter. With the butter in the heated pan, I'm going to melt the sugar. So I'm going to put equal parts of just basic cane sugar and dark muscovado sugar, and I'm gonna put, this is probably about 2 tablespoons. Put a little bit more butter in, and I'm gonna put my lemon juice in. So this is how it looks after 5 minutes of cooking. The rhubarb has let out all its liquids out. It's very soft, so after 5 minutes I'm just gonna add my apples. Don't worry, it's brown because we used brown sugar, so we didn't burn it, but we used really dark sugar. Right now I'm gonna add about a teaspoon of cinnamon and teaspoon of lemon zest. Like this. A big tablespoon of strawberry jam, or maybe a little bit more. This is how it looks after about a total of 10 minutes of cooking. 5 minutes for rhubarb, 5 with the apples. I sieved it to drain excess liquid. Yes, we have a handful of hazelnuts, we have a handful of white almonds. Our nuts are very jumpy, so I'm just gonna gently, just roughly chop it in this rocking motion. And I'm gonna do the same with the hazelnuts. I'm just gonna put everything inside our pie crust. I'm gonna distribute it evenly, nice and even. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna I mixed together the roughly chopped almonds and hazelnuts, and I'm just gonna sprinkle them over, just generously crumble those nuts. Oh, it's everywhere. As I told you, I sieved the mixture, the rhubarb and apple filling. I'm just gonna brush back onto the nuts just so they're shiny and more caramelized on the top and more delicious. I'm not gonna put all of the liquid back in because we don't want it too soaky and soggy. Okay guys, so I've just taken the cake or the pie out of the oven. It was there for 30 minutes for 170 degrees. Now all I'm gonna do is just let it cool off. So this is rhubarb and apple pie with hazelnut and almond topping.